took them, Europe took them, Jordan took them. For whatever reason, here in Gaza, there's refugees from the fighting, from an offensive attack that was staged from Gaza. Israel's going in to do, a long-term deterrence mission. And it's just, it's unfortunate that nobody's taking the refugees.
But also there are real fears on the part of Arabs, and I'm sure you talk to a lot of them, who think once Gazans leave Gaza, Netanyahu's never going to let them back in.
Maybe, but I'm not sure there's much left of Gaza at this point. So, if you think about even the construct, like, Gaza was not really a historical precedent, right? It was the result of a war, right? You had tribes that were in different places, but then Gaza became a thing. Egypt, used to run it. And then, over time, you had different governments that came in different ways. So you have another war, usually when wars happen, borders are changed historically over time. And so my sense is I would say, how do we deal with the terror threat that is there so that it cannot be a threat to Israel or to Egypt, right? I think that both sides are spending a fortune on military. I think neither side really wants to have, a terrorist organization enclaved right between them. And Gaza's waterfront property, it could be very valuable to, if people would focus on kind of building up, livelihoods. You think about all the money that's gone into this tunnel network and into all the munitions. If that would have gone into education or innovation, what could have been done? And so I think that it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there, but I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and clean it up. But I don't think that Israel has stated that they don't want the people to move back there afterwards.
You saw Tom Friedman's column on Tuesday about where he put forward a plan to get out of this. Biden should recognize the Palestinian Authority unilaterally as a state, and MBS should go to Jerusalem like Egyptian President Anwar Sadat did in 1977, and he should say, I'll normalize with Israel, I'll recognize West Jerusalem as your capital, and I'll even pay to rebuild Gaza if you recognize a Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. What do you think? Good idea?
No, I don't think that's a good idea. I think that there's certain elements of it that are correct. I think proactively recognizing a Palestinian state would essentially be rewarding an act of terror that was perpetrated into Israel. So it's a super bad idea in that regard.
Well, that was, of course, Jared Kushner, who is Trump's son-in-law, and he led Trump's foreign policy, even though he was denied a security clearance initially. And he, as is pointed out, I guess Joy Reid pointed out, he received $2 billion from Saudi royals on his way out of the White House. And so he makes these alarming statements. Nothing more you couldn't expect anything less, right? But today we're going to talk about the Goon Squad. A couple of the goons were sentenced, and 3 more will be sentenced today and tomorrow for the most horrific racist crime by police officers you'll want to see. Also, 25 million Black and Latino voters are either missing or misidentified in voter databases in the U.S. We'll talk about that and the type of impact it may have, or it probably will have if it's not corrected on the 2024 general election. Also, South Carolina woman who burned a cross to intimidate her Black neighbors is back in jail for even more bizarre behavior, according to the Atlanta Black Sta. We'll get into that as well. 2 sisters have paid $750,000 to purchase what's believed to be the largest, the plantation of the largest slave uprising in history. And how do we not talk about the Nickelodeon documentary? Well, we're hanging with Mr. Cooper today. Joining us is the one and only Austin Cooper to talk about all these things and more. What's going on, Austin?
Stacy, my brother, good morning. Good to see you.
It's always good to see you. All subdued. Come on, get some anger in your voice, some bass. How low can you go?
It is. I miss you, brother. It's good to see you. It's good to be back. Good to see my, be back with you and Greer.
You're all over the world. I mean, last I saw, I got this note from ASAP Rocky saying, talk to your boy. He's pushing up on my woman. I mean, I'm trying to understand. I mean, ASAP doesn't seem to mind when Rihanna and I get together, but he had a problem when you got together with her. No.
I didn't even, until I wasn't even aware that she was in India until I saw his commentary. So that was news to me, and I can assure you, I did not come across Rihanna during my 5 days in India.
It's your story. You're sticking
Stacey.
with
Here's
it.
the deal. Here's the deal, Stacey. I don't move in those circles. I never have. It would have been more likely for you
Oh, here we go.
to be there because you're the. I mean, you're the celebrity man.
Listen, that's your story. You're sticking with it.
I am.
Power 96 says, tell them, Austin, the brothers from Alpha Phi Alpha are cool like that.
06.
Here we go. Well, Austin, so yesterday, two white former Mississippi law enforcement officers who were members of a self-styled Goon Squad were sentenced by a federal judge to prison after admitting to torturing and abusing two black men last year, and four other white ex-officers who pleaded guilty in the abuse will be sentenced beginning today. Hunter Elwood, a 31-year-old former Mississippi sheriff's deputy who faced the most serious of the federal charges for shooting one of the victims, was sentenced in federal court in Jackson, Mississippi to 20 years in prison. Also, Jeffrey Milton, a 46-year-old former sheriff deputy, whom federal prosecutors described as the ringleader of the group, was sentenced to 17 and a half years in prison. Elwood, Middleton, and Rankin County deputies Brett McAlpin, Christian Dedman, and Daniel Opdyke, as well as former Richland police officer Joshua Hartfield, all pleaded guilty in August to federal charges of conspiracy against rights, deprivation of rights under the color of law, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and obstruction of justice related to the incident. That January 24th, 2023, horrible incident. These officers handcuffed these two black men, kicked them, waterboarded them, tased them repeatedly, and then attempted to sexually assault them. Um, one of the officers was forcing one of the men to make the other guy perform a sexual act on him. And then another situation, they poured mayonnaise, I think it was, or milk, not mayonnaise, milk and hot chocolate and something else over them. And then they, if it wasn't for the guy use one of the victims using the bathroom on himself, he was going to be uh, sexually assaulted in another way other than the first way. It's just horrible. Then Elwood puts a gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger. And Elwood said that was it wasn't it wasn't supposed, it went wrong. It wasn't supposed to, the gun wasn't supposed to go off. I mean, that's just some of the
What
horrific
else was it
stuff.
supposed to do? That's why you put a gun in someone's mouth
Hmm.
for it to go off. This is one of the this was a painful story to hear about, painful trial to follow, absolutely painful to read about. And you look at these, 4 or 5, white men, and in order to abuse another human being like that, regardless of his or her skin color, you have to have some really deep-seated hatred,
Yep.
of yourself,
Yep.
to treat another human being in the manner in which they did. You also have to be wrestling with your own insecurities or whatever about your own sexuality in order to sexually abuse people, like this. And these are, law enforcement officers.
Yep.
So if the law enforcement officers are operating in this manner in whatever town this is in Mississippi, you know, what is the what is the mood of non-enforcement, non-law enforcement officers
Mm-hmm.
in that community? In that community, is this acceptable? You know, uh, I mean, I'm just thankful that it has been brought to trial
Mm-hmm.
and justice is being served. But this is not, this is learned behavior. None of these white boys, none of these white men, when they came into the world, had this type of deep-seated hatred of anyone, in particular Black people. This is learned behavior,
Mm-hmm.
and
Absolutely.
it's just it's just an absolutely sad state of affairs for humankind, mankind and womankind. Reminds me of the case, and Stacy helped me out in the 1980s when
Oh
the
gosh.
police abused a young brother with a plunger. What was
A
his name?
plunger in New York.
Yeah,
Oh gosh.
yeah. I cannot think of his name,
Mm-hmm.
and thank God he lived, but
Mm-hmm.
he will have intestinal digestive issues
Right.
for the rest of
Forever.
his for the rest of his life.
Was that
As will,
Amadou Diallo? Yep.
I think it
Monique
was.
just said it
I
at the
think.
same
Okay,
time.
yeah,
It
yeah.
just,
Thanks, Monique. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And that was shocking for New York City, 30 years ago. Wasn't that in the 80s or something? Or was that
It
90s,
was,
late
yeah,
80s?
it was, I believe it
Yeah,
was,
it's been a while. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So for this kind of racist behavior, Gris right, she said no, Amadou Diallo was killed, so it was someone else. But
But,
nonetheless, horrific
mhm.
behavior by law enforcement against the people that they are sworn to protect and serve. And yes, yeah. So hopefully they will be sentenced to prison are being sentenced to prison for life, and throw away the keys.
Absolutely, throw away the key. Um, Abner Louima was the individual who was
That's right. That's right.
sexually assaulted by New York City police. Um, and this is this is it goes on. So that was 80s and 90s, and here we are, 2024, post George Floyd at that,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Dr. Nicole says literally KKK in blue uniforms can only
Exactly.
imagine the terror they've inflicted over the years throughout the Black community. Um, and Power 96 says, seriously, somebody has to explain to me how and why this isn't a hate crime. Look at the
Yes.
definition of a hate crime and tell me this
Yes.
doesn't fit the description. Absolutely. And then here's the other part of it. The officers, the ex-officers, the Klansmen, they sit in there in that courtroom, Elwood, yesterday, crying, saying, "Please forgive me," and I was just had so much going on, and blah blah blah. It's
Like
like,
any and everybody else. Like those two
right,
men they assaulted didn't have,
a-
trials and tribulation in their respective lives.
and to
Um,
say, she said KKK, and it's so true because these guys were upset that they was apparently either living one of the guys was either living with a white woman or renting from a white woman, one or the other. Um, and they talking about they saw suspicious activity because they saw the two Black men in the house. They went in, they found no evidence of suspicious activity. Uh, they proved that they belonged there, but they hated the fact that a white woman was involved.
and they always talk about this blue wall of silence, a blue code of silence where, one officer doesn't rat on another officer. But how could five individuals be so caught? Look at this, Jesus. How could five individuals, police officers, be so caught up in the abuse of two, innocent men, and
The abuse went on for hours.
none of them say, I can't be a part of this anymore. It's the same way with with Eric Garner. where you had officers, including some black officers, standing by and watching that man, watching what happened to Mr. Garner.
And it went on for hours. This situation went on for hours. I mean, they put these guys in the shower to try and wash away evidence. It was just so horrific.
I'm surprised
So
they didn't kill him.
well, ultimately, I don't know what stopped them.
Yeah.
Especially, I think what stopped them, what ironically, what saved their lives was being shot.
Hmm.
That's when the officers panicked. So unreal. But so again, Austin, it continues to happen. Um, we talked about the Abner Louima and the Amadou Diallo situation for that matter. Um, Today, they wear body cameras. They're not only do they wear body cameras, but now you can't go anywhere without there is a camera somewhere
Hmm.
filming.
Hmm. Hmm.
And yet
Hmm.
the
Still continues. It
assaults, the
still continues.
brutality seems to have increased.
Hmm. Hmm. And it's also part of the code of, America deals with, racism, I feel, and certainly wrongly, in intervals. We get caught up in the moment.
In the
White
moment.
folk in particular get caught up with, with guilt. It's been a couple of years since George Floyd was murdered, live. And, you recall that, the immediate response of, many, large corporations, Fortune 500 companies, mid-sized companies, and others was to implement these corporate social responsibility initiatives all across the country, in minority neighborhoods,
Hmm.
to increase diversity, higher, something that should have been done excuse me, before Mr. Floyd was killed. And now we see, and I know you referenced it yesterday, with DEI initiatives being on the
Oh
decline.
God.
Now we see that what May will be 3 years or 4 years since Floyd was killed.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
now we see, white folk have gotten over their guilt and ready to go back. Far too many are ready to go back to business as usual. And this current political climate, and you know who I'm talking about, is not going to make it any easier, and it's going to make law enforcement officials who have the urge or the need to be abusive to blacks and other minorities to do the same without fear of repercussion.
Oh, and as Greer points out, the laws across the country are changing to give police more power.
Absolutely.
And we talked about this with Sam PK Collins last week with the DC with their
Yep.
crime
Yep.
bill. Everything has totally shifted back to pre George Floyd.
Hmm.
Because after George Floyd, it was, oh, we got to do this. Let's do this. Forget about it. Forget about it. Um,
And
you have to look
and
into.
these officers, I mean, if I were a betting person, I can never prove it, but if I were a betting person, I would say I would bet this is not the first time
All right,
that these
right,
officers have engaged in this behavior. And perhaps
right.
in previous instances, it wasn't as excessive, but this doesn't just happen, click overnight. This is something that I would
Right.
think will be a gradual progression to what we witnessed with these two brothers.
And Mike V says that state-sanctioned violence is part and parcel of colonialism, and we still have people fighting against the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act.
That's right.
100%.
That's right.
100%.
That's right.
This is but see, so we are already at the the America that the Donald Trump envisions. We're already there, right? So if he wins the election, just imagine, you know, how awful things are going to really be. And
Boy.
also, you think about Greer and I was talking about this yesterday because she was showing me this video of this young man, black man, uh, really spewing nothing but untruths in his support of Donald Trump. I mean, and I noticed in the video, in his statements, he didn't even know how to say HBCUs.
Hmm.
This is how far
Hmm.
gone this little
Exactly.
black kid is,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
To not even be able to say HBCUs. He said it all wrong, and then he falsely claimed that Trump told HBCUs they don't never have to beg anymore, and he gave them. First of all, first of all, um, HBCUs uh, would die under Trump, would
Absolutely.
absolutely
Absolutely.
cease to
Absolutely.
exist under Trump.
And he never
He
told
would make
that
sure of
because,
that.
yeah, because my HBCU, St. Augustine's University in Raleigh, North Carolina, is in dire straits. We
Yes.
are in, we are in severe jeopardy of closing. So,
Yep.
not to say that blaming Trump, that was poor, management by the board and administrators there, but Trump doesn't care anymore about HBCU than he cared about,
Nope.
Trump University. Well, he cared more about Trump University because he was benefiting from
Right.
the defunct Trump University, and we've just. I think I mentioned maybe in the chat yesterday how I was at a market in India, picking up some souvenirs for my family, and you know well, let me say this. From the moment I landed in Delhi, then went up to Calcutta, for those 5 days, I'm fairly certain that I was the tallest man in India, in the entire country. I mean, and even here in America, at 6'3", I'm taller than most people that I encounter. So, excuse me. So I'm at the market, and this gentleman approaches me, and he's trying to sell something to me. And I said, no, I'm good. He said, you're American? I said, yeah. He asked me where I'm from. And I said, the Washington, D.C. area. And he said, what has happened to America? He said,
Mhm.
here in India and around the world, we are taught to look up to America as a beacon of hope. And I said, as an American, every day I wrestle with that question and the pending return of Trump to the White House. And here's the deal. Excuse me. Um, if he does indeed get back in, Stacey, none of us should be surprised with what happens
Right.
because he is laying out a blueprint each and every day. We may be surprised that this is happening here in America, but we have a presidential candidate who is calling for a bloodbath. Now, he wasn't referring to no damn tariffs on foreign cars when he talked about that. That was code, and not even code, because
Right.
bloodbath, that
Straight
word
up now.
implies,
They're
yes,
straight up.
so, civil war, you know,
Mhm.
uh, um, uh, racist interactions, violent
Right.
interaction. So, the threat is real to
No,
American
people should
democracy.
have, particularly black people, the moment the moment in 2016, 2015, or whatever it was, when he first used that phrase, "Make America Great Again." There wasn't a black person, I don't care how ignorant you might be. There wasn't a black person alive who didn't understand where he was coming from, what he actually meant.
The good old
And
days.
then, right, their good old days.
Mhm. Yeah,
Then he gets in
exactly,
office
exactly.
and he shows you. That's why it's such a it gets into your soul when you see a black or Latino, heck, even an Asian or someone of Middle Eastern descent talking about they're supporting him.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean,
And
it's
yeah,
it,
and
go ahead.
and I have spoken to I won't say who, but I've had conversations with some people from India, here in the United States who support Trump, and from Africa, and I say to them, you are making a distinction with your your background and being a Black American. And yeah, you're not a Black American, but when it comes to some of these law enforcement officers out here, you just as
Yeah.
damn Black as I am.
Look, the bottom line is Cedric Richmond. A couple of weeks ago, I was at Biden's headquarters, and Cedric Richmond was speaking to us. There's a few of us there, and the bottom line is Cedric Richmond is 1,000% right. This is not about the lesser of two evils. There's only
No, no
one
way. There's one
evil
evil. There's
here.
one exactly,
There's only one
exactly.
evil. So you know that's just the way it is. And here's another problem that perhaps Biden or Democrats may face is that this eye-opening report. I wrote about it for Black Press for the Black Press of America. It's titled "Surfacing Missing Voters: Addressing Data Systems, Tools, and Engagement Models That Invisibilize Black and Brown Communities," authored by Miriam McKinney Gray for the Democracy Empower Innovation Fund. A concerning reality: nearly 25 million Black and Latino eligible voters are effectively absent from voter databases, making them virtually unreachable by traditional outreach methods. It's crucial, Austin. This revelation is crucial as we head toward the November election. Of course, Biden and the
Excuse me.
twice impeached, 4 times indicted former president go head to head. Um, so here we have it. Like in 2020, Biden received a total of 81.2 million votes. Trump 74.2
Right.
million.
That's
So
right.
those and many of Black folks who voted for Joe Biden. So now you're saying 25 million Black and brown people may not cast their vote.
And that's what Republicans are unfortunately so good at. And those of us who call ourselves Democrat, while they're playing chess, we're playing checkers. While they're playing tennis, we're playing ping pong. Um, Stacey, it is, they chip away. They very patiently chip away until they get what they want. Roe v. Wade comes to mind. That didn't just happen overnight. That was a almost 50-year process of chipping away, increasing their numbers on the Supreme Court. And this here again is part of their effort, which is why it's so important to vote not only every 4 years at presidential, but to also vote every 2 years at congressional and to vote every 2 or 4 years at other state and local races, including, community board races, because this is where, the decisions are made. Tip O'Neill used to always say, Speaker O'Neill used to always say that all politics is local. So yeah, what we're doing here in Washington is, having a, legislative impact on domestic and international policy. But don't ignore what's happening at the local level in your local precincts, where at the state legislature, for example, those who we vote in office in our respective House and Senate seats, state seats, they decide the congressional lines. They decide, how many districts are going to be majority Black. And when they feel that Blacks are exercising too much power in Congress, then they, take away from their seats. But again, it's key to be a part of the census and to fill out those census applications. So, being a conscious voter is not just once every 2 years, once every 4 years. It is a daily practice.
Said a lot. Well said. And also, Austin, other troubling stuff that goes on. And again, when we present these topics and discussions, you think about how much worse things were, during the Trump years, and how much worse they will be if there's a repeat of the Trump years. A South Carolina woman, this 27-year-old South Carolina woman, accused of intimidating her black neighbors by cross burning last year, was arrested again. Alexis Hartnick was charged with one count of obscene exposure after a neighbor claimed that she was openly doing jumping jacks while topless in the front yard of her home. The, the, ma- the man who has kids was able to capture it on video and showed it to Horry County Police, according to the Atlanta Black Star. She was taken into custody but was later released on bond. A judge placed her on house arrest and ruled that she is prohibited from coming in contact with the neighbor who reported her. But here's the thing, this new charge against this wacko comes after she and her boyfriend, a guy named Warden Butler, uh, they placed a burning cross facing Sean and Monica Williams' property last year. And these Sean and Monica Williams, they were retirees, and they said that the cross burning was only a part of the hate coming from this woman and her boyfriend over time. They said they kept getting the N word over and over, and they've been telling them that they need to get out of the neighborhood, et cetera, et cetera. And um, for the cross burning and the constant harassment, the couple was charged with second-degree harassment, while Hartnick, she was also hit with third-degree assault and battery charges. Their home was raided by the FBI just a few days before Christmas amid a civil rights investigation. So she's under investigation for that. And this goes on and on, Austin, and it's become normalized because
Yeah,
of Jim Jones II.
exactly. And I mean, look at these two nuts here. I mean, they look like Charles Manson followers, or some other nut cult. And again, if she's 27, he doesn't look to be much older. You know, where did they get this so much self hatred? Where you're so angry at your own status in life that instead of looking inward and
Hmm.
trying to see what change you can make on your own, it's much quicker to blame others. One good thing for me, and I think I've referenced this before on the show, was those first 2 years of COVID really forced me to have some painful conversations with myself,
Hmm.
because wasn't nobody else around, and I had to confront some real honest painful realities of myself. And I'm sure a whole lot of others went through that, but never did I well, there was some instances where I found it bluntly easier to blame others, but then when I just sat and thought about it, I had nowhere to go and nowhere to travel, or I had to say, you know what, you played a very key role in this. And that's a very painful conversation to have with yourself. And I think too many, white folk in particular, well, all of us, but too many white folk in particular, racists like these, just it's easier for them to blame their black neighbors for them not liking their job or not having a job, than
Hmm.
to take classes at a community college and try to better themselves. They probably felt these neighbors had a better car or their
Hmm.
house. I have no idea what the neighborhood was like, but maybe they uh, uh, had better upkeep of their house than they could. So
Right. Power 96 says those two look like brother and sister. They might be cousins, Power
exactly.
96. You know how that goes. But Austin, we've got to talk. How do you not talk about Nickelodeon? OMG. For those fond memories of watching kid-centered Nickelodeon television series like All That, The Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, the investigation discovery series Quiet on the Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV may just blow you away. Already, is the 4-part docuseries has generated headlines by featuring former star Drake Bell recounting publicly for the first time his stories of being abused about 2 decades ago by Brian Peck, a dialogue coach and actor employed by Nickelodeon. Peck pleaded no contest to 2 charges and was sentenced to 16 months in jail back in 2004. But the identity of the performer he was convicted of abusing was not revealed in court. The program also spends lots of time digging into the work of show creator, showrunner, executive producer, and performer Dan Schneider, who built a kids' TV empire in the late 90s and early 2000s at Nickelodeon. This is, they had shows like All That, The Amanda Show, Keenan and Kel, iCarly. This guy discovered, and you could see, and you could see Amanda Bynes, for instance, um, has struggled with mental health issues for years. You could see Jamie Lynn Spears struggle with some things. Britney's sister. You could see them all. Even Ariana Grande, who just got divorced again or whatever. Who always looks like she wants to portray herself as a 12-year-old and sexualize it. You can see why.
Why?
Yeah,
Exactly.
we're gonna play a
Exactly.
clip, Austin, to give our viewers, if they're not
Excuse me.
aware, some sense of how devastating this documentary is. Let's take a look.
The leotards. I mean, I was just a growing boy trying to, fit into my body. And it was just out there for everyone to kind of look at and judge me, or, I just felt very exposed. So one week we get a script. There's a new character for me on All That named Noseboy. Naturally, I'm in a superhero costume, which is just tights and underwear. What was different about this, they gave me a prosthetic nose, like an enlarged nose, and they put this same nose on the costume. I'm Captain Victos! What are your special powers? You can't help but notice that it looks like penis and testicles on my shoulders.
This is a child playing this role, and he's playing it for other children. His audience is kids as young as 6.
I'm allergic to asteroids. Gotcha!
And the joke in that sketch is effectively a shot joke. It's a shot joke for children.
I'm just looking back at it, it's just very strange. Frankly, it was just uncomfortable. In the moments to myself, you would just be thinking like, hey, this is what we got to do to be on the show, to stay in the cast and stay in the good graces of the people that were higher up.
Some of the child actors felt like they could not push back, especially with Dan Schneider.
And so I always did my best to be a trooper, never complain, because we knew being close to Dan could mean an extra level of success. It was important to be on his good side, and he made it known who was on his good side.
And before we even go further, do we have that other clip, Greer, with Ariana Grande when she was younger, and the skit that they made her do? Maybe not, but
Just painful to watch. You want to think that these kinds of actions and abuse of young kids doesn't happen, but it is so common, and it's been so common not only in Hollywood, but in other. It happens at our schools, and the cycle. The pain that was inflicted on these innocent young kids, as you have referenced, Stacy, and Greer
and
just
think
referenced,
about
as we
who they
saw.
include.
Exactly, exactly. It is something that they will wrestle with for the rest of their lives. Some have ended up, committing suicide. I think
Mhm.
I was reading. Well, I think the brother we just saw didn't he get in trouble for abusing a minor
Yeah, he's
or
been in
something?
trouble. Listen, the list of some of the bigger stars that
Yeah.
came out and here's the Ariana Grande skit, and this is just awful for a child.
Yeah.
This was Nickelodeon.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
And why
this.
would and what about the parents?
And what about the parents?
What about the
Right.
parents? I mean, a lot of responsibility had to be on parents. There's no way I would have allowed, or my ex would have allowed Ashley, if she wanted to be an actor, to participate in any roles like that. It looked like she's wearing, a negligee, lying on a bed, pouring water. I mean, all of that is sexual innuendo, and she couldn't have been more than 11 or 12 in those photos, and she
Mhm.
might have also been sexually abused. And then we wonder why all of her songs have such a sexual
And why
angle
she
to them.
walks around
Well,
looking like
exactly.
trying to be
Well,
12 years old,
exactly,
but
exactly.
sexualizing it.
Exactly, because that's what she was exposed to as a child, and her parents condoned it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's called Quiet on the Set. And we know that when they're shooting, the first thing that someone yells is quiet on the set. But this had a different meaning according to those involved. The quiet on the set meant something else. It meant some sort of sexual thing was going to happen. Um, and here's the other thing too, Austin. We keep so Dan Snyder, he gave an interview with the Hollywood Reporter yesterday or the day before, whatever it was. But um, we now will probably see because there's two more episodes left in this documentary series, but we'll probably now see a move to prosecute him, right,
Good,
and
good,
others.
good.
We probably will. But why does it always take? It took a documentary to bring R. Kelly down. It took a documentary for a lot of people to come to grips with the demons that Michael Jackson had.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
taking documentaries to do this, and it's funny because documentaries come from where? It comes out of Hollywood. Hollywood is where pedophiles roam. Hollywood is where sexual predators roam. And we've seen that time and time again. We had the Me Too movement, and Me Too movement was really for it was the original concept was about women in the workplace, women in corporate
Hmm.
America,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
Hollywood hijacked that. Some white women in Hollywood hijacked that because of what was happening to them and their peers.
Hmm.
Um, and so now Hollywood is telling on itself. And
Yeah,
and of course you know Tiffany Haddish, as Griver mentioned, and the guy, I can't remember the guy, but they got sued because of their role in child sexual stuff.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yes. And so this stuff it's so prevalent. What's interesting is how prevalent it is, and authorities have not done anything about it. It
And
it
what
was
what I noticed about that clip that Greer showed with the young brother with the nose costume was, there was an older black woman who was acting. And I want to ask her. I mean, you knew this was inappropriate.
Ari
You
Spears,
knew
I'm
that they were
sorry,
taking.
Austin, it was Ari Spears, and there was a Nickelodeon thing with Tiffany Haddish and Ari Spears, but
Oh,
go
okay.
ahead.
Yeah, no, but when the young brother came out with the costume, the big
Right,
nose, which is racist, in
right.
itself, uh, and what clearly looks like a sexual organ on his shoulder.
That's what
Why
he said,
didn't
yep.
she speak up and say, this is not right? So there are so many people at
Who are
fault
complicit.
on that who were complicit.
They're
The,
complicit.
the, the, the only people who are not at fault are those young kids, but
Now
everybody
I
else
wanna
on that set, including parents.
including parents, And that's she says that's not how Hollywood works. Everybody's doing it. Absolutely. And you know what's funny about that? What's not funny, but what's interesting about that, if you know anybody in Hollywood, if you've ever been around anybody in Hollywood that you've had, had any type of relationship with, they tell you that it's going on. They
Yeah.
are. I've had many a conversations with several big time A-list stars, who I've been in their company, who's yeah, this is going that's going on, these parties and this and that. And so it's really prevalent. And the thing is, people don't speak up. If you do, they say you're crazy, as Greer points out, or you
Yeah.
get blackballed.
Blackballs.
Now, I
Yep.
would love to hear from folks like Keenan Thompson, Ariana Grande, Nick Cannon, Miranda Cosgrove, Jamie Lynn Spears, Victoria Justice. I would love to hear from these individuals now, because they've made it as stars, right?
Hmm.
Um, I would love to hear their take on this docu-series, and on what went on at Nickelodeon. They were exposed to it as well. They were
Hmm.
young.
Hmm.
They were exposed to it. Everybody was exposed to it. Somebody has to be able to stand up and say, you know what, we got to shut this stuff
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
once and for all.
And as Greer says, you don't speak up. Nobody's speaking up. Nobody spoke up. And now people are speaking up, and it requires a documentary. So I suppose, better late than never. But the damage has been done to these now young adults.
One mother, in the documentary, says this. She says the bad just doesn't go away. And she's the mother of the child performer who was targeted by a man who was later arrested on molestation charges, involving a different youth. She says the bad stays for a lifetime. Um, but Belle, you know, from Drake and Josh, that story with the guy Peck,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
who convinced him to drop his father as manager, and then
Yeah, I
started.
read that.
Yeah, I mean, come on. He began abusing him.
But
It's just
Stacy, as you're a dad, I'm a dad. Um, all of our viewers, I'm sure are, mom and dads. When you if you're close to your child, uh, you notice a change in behavior.
right.
Maybe they're more irritable when they come home from the set.
Mhm,
Maybe they are, looking, sad. Maybe they are
mhm.
displaying other forms of behavior that is totally uncharacteristic of what you have seen with your child. So how could, again, I just put a lot of this
Parents.
on parents.
Yeah,
Uh, how do you not have a conversation with your child and say, what's going on? Why are you, talking back to me in this manner? Why are
mhm.
you acting this way? Why are your grades going down? And then
Right.
not at a certain point, say there must be something going on
Something's going
at
on.
this set. There must be something going on at this church where
Mhm.
my son is is serving as an acolyte. Um, yeah, this is just
I mean, look, Bell
sad.
says that the abuse was extensive and it got pretty brutal. He's on camera now. He says he's squirming in his seat. You can see him squirming in his seat. He says, I really don't know how to elaborate on that
Elaborate.
on camera." He says, "Why don't you think of the worst stuff that someone could do to somebody as a sexual assault, and that'll answer your question. I don't know how else to put it." He's 37 years old now. Um, and you know, you can see, and again, people hate that I refer to this, but I go back to the documentary, Leaving Neverland with James Safechuck in particular, and he's a grown man, 30 something years old, and just like Mr. Bell here, squirming, fidgeting, um, just broken, totally broken, and for anybody to question whether or not they're telling the truth, they're out of their minds. People are out of their minds to even question it. These individuals are broken, and more to the point, Hollywood has been broken forever. Hollywood has been disgusted forever. We can go back to the Roman Polanski violently raping the 12-year-old girl in Jack Nicholson's home, and then fleeing across the pond.
I have forgotten about. Yeah.
And then Hollywood rewarding him afterwards while he's still on the lam,
Well,
and
what was his
still
name
giving
again?
him
What was his name
Roman
again?
Polanski,
Ron Polanski. That's right.
and
That's
still
right.
giving him Academy Awards.
That's right.
Woody Allen
Woody
goes
Allen
to Madison Square Garden with
married
his
his
wife,
stepdaughter.
hanging out with his wife at the Garden, going to games. They got season tickets, 2 seats. Woody Allen and his wife. What's the actress name? Can't remember the name that she was married. He was married to.
Mia.
Mia Farrow,
Yeah,
not
Mia
Mia
Farrow.
Farrow.
Yeah.
Was it Mia Farrow?
I
Every
think so.
day,
Yeah.
every game. Like you see Spike Lee at every Knick game. You saw Woody and Mia. Then all of a sudden, the daughter. It's just him and the daughter. Okay, nothing wrong with taking your daughter to the game. Well, he winds up, it turns out he's been having sex with the daughter and marries the daughter. And it's okay. He's still making movies and all of that.
Sick.
And people still applauding him. The song that they play, na 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 na, hey hey hey, good. You know, they say when that guy who made that song, pedophile, 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 and yet you go to a sporting event and that song, when the team is winning, they still play it.
I never knew that. I knew
Yes,
that connection, Stacy. Wow.
yes. What's his name? Gary something. Somebody knows his name. It's a crazy name. Pedophile, convicted pedophile.
Never knew that.
Right. So it's like it's ingrained. It becomes the norm. They allow this stuff to go on. Hollywood is not people fantasize about Hollywood. Think about the most successful persons and people in Hollywood. 99% of them had to do something that was unthinkable to
To get
be
that to
able
that
to
level of success.
achieve that level of success because that's how dirty Hollywood is. Most of them had to do something, and it had to be something sexual.
Yep. And Stacy, in the Michael Jackson saga, we saw and there are other incidents, not just with Michael, but we saw where parents condoned, the behavior, because Michael was giving them hush money.
Parents were bought off,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
disgusting.
I mean, what kind of parent can be bought off
Not
at
this
the
one.
expense of your child?
Not this one.
Not this one.
That's for sure. But this is what has happened. And we see these documentaries, and it's infuriating. And it becomes a matter of we watch the young black actor, but it becomes infuriating not just because they black, because I'm just as infuriated for, and I don't even like the girl, Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
buy an Ariana Grande song. I would not go see anything with Ariana Grande. But I'm infuriated for her and for Jamie Lynn Spears and the rest of them. I don't care if they're white or black, male, female. I'm infuriated for them that their parents, for a buck, to live among the elite,
Is
would sell their
Ariana
kids this way.
is Ariana in the same category as Taylor Swift, or like different category? I'm just curious.
Oh no, I mean Taylor Swift. I'm just, my aunt told me to leave Taylor Swift alone. She's watching too. She told me to leave Taylor Swift alone.
Oh, sorry, Auntie. I didn't mean to cause any friction.
Yeah. See, and don't be messing with Aunt Pam. I'm telling you,
Sorry, Aunt Pam.
Aunt
I'm
Pam
sorry, Aunt
is the
Pam.
Beyonce of the South, of the Southeast. And it's Power 96 brings out the black man has to wear the dress. Pamela, there she go. Aunt Pam said thank you. And she got three exclamation points after the thank you, Austin. You see what
Sorry,
you did?
Aunt Pam. I didn't mean to
You
cause a
see?
problem. Please
Don't be
don't be
messing
mad at
with
me.
Pam. Listen, you don't want to go down that road. I'm telling you, I try not to mess with her. I mess with her from afar.
From afar, huh?
Yes.
Where does she live? Does she live in the DC
She
area?
lives out in Virginia.
Ooh, that's kind of
Yeah,
close.
she's not
Sorry,
too
Aunt
far
Pam.
from you. Yeah. I'm tell you. And she has sent somebody over there.
Okay.
But Power 96 says the black man has to wear a dress was enough for me. Uh-oh, she done put the
Yeah.
see, Aunt Pam is acting up. She don't even care. She's at Virginia Beach. She letting you know exactly where she. I just said Virginia. Virginia's a big state. I just said Virginia. She said Virginia Beach. She let you know, Austin.
Aunt Pam, I love you. I think the world of you, and I hope to meet
The
you
only
one day
part her
and
husband's
treat you
gonna
to
hear is the
lunch.
"I love you" part.
I love you and your husband, Aunt Pam, and I would love to treat the two of you to dinner whenever convenient.
Oh gosh. And so I want to just finish with Power 96's point of the dress thing. He said Tyrese had one on last week. And say what you will about that. You know, there is a lot to that. I mean, does it take away the accomplishments of these actors who worn dresses, things like no, I don't think it does. But I also at the same time believe that there that is designed. It is designed in particular. I know white actors have worn dresses too, but I think it's particularly targeting black actors. I think it's one of those things. I think Cat Williams, if nothing else, he was right on that. I think that and he wasn't the first one that talked about that. He wasn't the
Mhm,
first one.
mhm,
I think there's a
mhm.
lot to that. I don't care what they say. There's a lot to that. And you think about the backdrop of Hollywood, and once again, this whole Nickelodeon thing is just the tip of the iceberg.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
that's just where it's at, Austin. It's the tip of the iceberg, and it's unfortunate. They need to do the feds or somebody need to go in there and all these producers, directors, uh, um, something needs to finally change to the point where people feel like it's based on talent only because
Agreed.
it's not based on talent only. It hasn't been forever.
Agreed.
Austin, one last thing this morning, and an uplifting um, story. Growing up in Louisiana on the west bank of the Mississippi River, Joe Banner and her twin sister Joy Banner learned about the 1811 revolt by enslaved people from their grandmother. Well, their grandmother said the heads of those who rebelled and fought for their freedoms were cut off and put on stakes along the Mississippi River. The story, according to the Banners, had been passed down in the family from generation to generation through oral tradition, but it's not just folklore. Um, they learned more and more about the revolt and about this plantation, Austin, which had the biggest slave revolt in American history. And now these two twins, these twins, I should say, not two of them, um, are buying or have now purchased for $750,000 this plantation in Louisiana, and they want to preserve the history of
Wow, look at that.
you see the bandit of the books, the bandit of Black history. Well, they said they want to save their history as the new owners of that plantation that was home to that revolt. And so they have been saving their money, and it's called the Woodland Plantation. By the way, I don't think I said that, but it's the Woodland Plantation. And so they purchased it, Austin, and
Good for
now
them. Good for them.
yes, it's gonna be a museum and everything else,
Y-
and other things, I should say. It's
Yeah.
4,000 the main building of that is 4,000 square feet, and it sits on 4 acres. I said acres. How did I say 4 acres.
Okay. Kudos to these black twin sisters who are Black history is not just a 28, or this year was 29-day observance, once a observant. These sisters here are living their Black history and preserving our Black history, I should say. So thank you and kudos to them.
Absolutely. Look, what a
Good for
thing to
them.
have
Good for
done.
them.
Yeah, I mean, their family was a part of that. Their ancestors were a part of that, and to now actually own that history. And it's one of those things. Sometimes you think, well, why do you want those memories? Why do you want? But that is where the slaves said enough was enough,
This is our history.
and their family was a part of that, and they fought back. And anytime you hear a story about the slaves fighting back, at least let me personalize it. Anytime I hear it, I'm like, you go.
Go for it.
I'm all for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm all for it. And Power 96 says it's an incredible story. If you haven't visited that plantation, please put it on your bucket list. He says he has
I'm going to do
ancestors
that.
who rebelled in that uprising. I think a lot of us are going to
Really?
do that. Power 96.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and Power 96, you got to sweeten the pot. You got to throw in you got to make some gumbo and stuff for us. As me and Austin, we like to eat.
We like to eat.
That's right. We come out to Louisiana, we expecting some, catfish. I know you into crawfish, Power 96, but I want some catfish, some gumbo. I mean, I know Austin will chow down on some
I will throw
crawfish.
down. I think if I can make one more comment about the lead story before we jump. We didn't talk about it, but if Merrick Garland saw fit to appoint a special counsel to look into Hunter Biden, then he should have seen and should see fit to appoint
100%.
a special counsel to look into Jared Kushner. I'm so tired of his, of this double standard by this weak, mediocre Attorney General of the United States.
100%. We talked ad nauseum about Merrick Garland and his shortcomings, which is why we've talked ad nauseum, because the shortcomings you can't cover them, in a month of shows. But he's the reason why Donald Trump may never
Absolutely.
pay for his crimes.
Absolutely.
This idea that Benny Thompson and the investigative committee on Congress had to come up with all of the evidence, had to come up with, do all the work, was something that still, to me, it's incredible that the Attorney General, January 6, 2021, here we are.
That's right.
Now, Trump is playing, he's playing his one big strength, and is that the Supreme Court, of course, that he stole, and Mitch McConnell stole, and these federal judges that he appointed. And the latest on that too today is that, so as we wait for April, when they're to this, hear the case, he's already planning. There's a report today to and he sent a brief to the Supreme Court saying, if you feel like you can't make a decision on the immunity part, you might want to send it back to the lower court. So giving them an out, giving his conservative guys, his MAGA guys on the Supreme Court an out. And if they do that, Austin, if they decide we're sending this back, it goes into at least next year or whatever. And if he is
reelected, he takes it off the books.
It's off the books. All of it goes away. And this country, as you know it, is like a third world country now.
Absolutely.
That's what's going to happen if
vote, and it's not it's not a vote of the lesser of two evils.
Right.
One is evil.
Only one. And stop Black people with this idea. We talked earlier about the crime bill and these things. Stop with this idea that Biden did black folks wrong with that crime bill. It wasn't just Joe Biden.
The majority of the Congressional Black Caucus
The
voted
Congressional Black
for the
Caucus,
crime bill.
black preachers, black senior citizens, and and ghettos and everything else was all for the crime bill. So stop it.
And stop
Donald
being
Trump,
one issue candidates. Look at the
Donald
whole
Trump said
picture.
he still wants to assassinate or execute the exonerated five.
Yeah.
Stop with the nonsense. He freed Harry O. Harry
One of
O sold drugs to
whom
the
is a member of
community.
the council, New York City Council.
Oh my God! Stop with say something else. Like the little boy that Greer showed me yesterday, talking about, and I call him a little boy because he's got a brain like a little boy. Oh, Trump had the lowest black unemployment. Not true. Everybody was unemployed during Trump years. This is the lowest unemployment in the history of America for black people.
Over 1 million deaths, over 1 million COVID deaths under Trump because he lied about it to the American people.
He allowed people to die. But he's the guy bankruptcy. Now he's going to be forced. And I can't wait to bring you guys this story. If everything goes as is, because Monday, Letitia James may be able to start seizing all of his properties. We'll see what happens between now and Monday. Maybe Harlan Crow will bail him out, or somebody like that. Who knows? But
someone sent me a photo. I have to send it to you and Greer and Barrington. A photo of Trump won with a boot on the around the tires. So good.
Too much. But Austin, we hung with Mr. Cooper today. We enjoyed it.
Good to see you, brother.
Back.
Always.
Everybody go to, of course, what I'm gonna say, YouTube, and subscribe. Remember your parents used to say, how many times do I have to tell you?
Yep.
But subscribe to Let It Be Known News, and we will bring you some more stuff tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Have a good day. I'm Pam.